Good morning et bienvenue. I'm Joanne Jobin with VID Media and welcome to another VID Town Hall Forum. Today, I'm very excited to be here with Radisson Mining Resources. Before we start, I'd like to introduce Chairman Denis Lachance and CFO Hubert Parent-Bouchard, who will provide an update on the company and an outlook for 2023. Just a reminder that after the presentation, I will be moderating submitted questions via the Q&A tab up at the top of the screen. Now, a few words on the company. Radisson is committed to generating value for its shareholders through the acquisition, exploration, and development of mining projects in a sustainable manner. Radisson is currently pursuing the advancement of the historic O'Brien project located on the world-renowned Larder-Lake-Cadillac Break. The O'Brien project was once considered the Abitibi's highest grade gold producer during its production. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you that if you do have questions for the company, place them in the Q&A tab at the top of the Q&A section. And now I'd like to turn it over to the team to provide an update on the company. Gentlemen, over to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Joanne, and thank you everyone for joining us for this town hall. My name is Hubert Parent-Bouchard, and I've been involved with Radisson since 2015. I've been involved in several aspects of the business, including financings, corporate development, and investor relation activities. I currently am CFO of the company. I'm joined here today by Denis Lachance, Chairman of the Board of Directors since 2016, and Interim President and CEO. Denis is a mining engineer with more than 40 years of experience, having held executive positions with Koniambo Nickel, Xstrata, Noranda, and senior positions with TVX Gold and Agnico Eagle. It will be our pleasure today to guide you through an overview of the company and most recent exploration activities. Please note that the presentation contains certain forward-looking statements. So what is Radisson? Radisson is a gold exploration company focused on the O'Brien Gold Project, located in northwestern Quebec, and hosting the richest mine by grade in the province, with historical production of close to 600,000 ounces at 15 grams per ton. Visible gold was quite common in the old O'Brien mine, and the rocks you're seeing on this slide can be observed at the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto. In the last 3 years, Radisson invested close to $30 million for exploration and land expansion on the asset. Radisson currently has a market capitalization of $45 million Canadian, $3 million in the banks, and around 284 million shares outstanding. Despite difficult market conditions in 2022, the management and insiders have been accumulating shares in a constant manner. We own around 9.6% of the company. Our share registry include Marshall Precious Metals at 3%, Renfort Resources at 4.2%, and institutional ownership is around 14%. Something somewhat unique about Radisson is that we have a group of 30 investors, private investors, owning more than 30% of the company, making the float quite tight at around 38%. The stock trades on the TSX Venture under symbol RDS and on the OTCQB under symbol RMRDF. Analyst coverage includes coverage at Laurentian and 8 Capital. In terms of management, Denis and myself, I've already covered. So let's jump with Vivien. Vivien Janvier joined the company as Director of Geology back in August of 2022. He holds a PhD in economic geology and has been involved in numerous discoveries, including the Keats high-grade discovery of Newfound Gold. Sylvain Douard is our Environment and Sustainable Development Director. Sylvain has more than 30 years of experience and has been involved in the permitting process for multiple mines in Canada, including the Meliadine and Meadowbank complex for Agnico Eagle. I should highlight that we have a very diversified board of directors with track a track record of finding winners, bringing them to production, and strong capital markets expertise. That includes Pierre Baudouin, currently Chief Operating Officer of Silvercrest, Michael Gentile, small cap fund manager in Montreal and renowned mining investor, Jeff Winoga, accountant by background and currently CEO of Exploits Discovery, active in Newfoundland, Siri Jenik, a world-renowned lecturer who specializes in ESG, and Denis Bois, geologist by background, based locally in Rouyn-Noranda, who has been instrumental in the creation of several research and applied sciences development in the mining space at the Quebec University of Abitibi-Témiscamingue. The O'Brien project is located halfway between Rouyn-Noranda and Val-d'Or in Abitibi-Témiscamingue, Quebec, and is accessible via a paved highway. The project is located roughly 600 kilometers west of Montreal and north of Toronto. O'Brien sits on the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, one of the best preserved Neo-Archean greenstone belts in the world. More specifically, it straddles the Larder-Lake-Cadillac Break for 5.2 kilometers. Neo-Archean gold deposits tend to have deep-seated structures carrying gold for over kilometers underground. Some of the most renowned high-grade deposits of this type include the Red Lake mine, having produced close to 6.5 million ounces, the Macassa mine along the Larder-Lake-Cadillac Break, and having produced more than 6.5 million ounces as well, and the Doyon mine, closer to O'Brien, having produced more than 5 million ounces. Our camp, the Bousquet-Cadillac mining camp, has returned more than 25 million ounces over the last 100 years and is home of best-in-class operators like Agnico Eagle and IAMGOLD. In fact, O'Brien is contiguous to the south of the Laron mine, the deepest mine in North America, down to 3.2 kilometers depth. Other mine, either in production or development in the area, include the Malartic and Odyssey deposits, soon to be 100% owned by Agnico Eagle following the Yamana acquisition, the high-grade Kena mine owned by Wisdom, and the Sigma-Lamaque complex owned by Eldorado. You can denote on this slide that there is excess milling capacity both within and outside the camp. Radisson benefits from advantageous exploration costs, given its location halfway between two mining towns, having access to a large labor pool, exploration and mining entrepreneurs, as well as hydropower and potable water running directly to site. Okay, so back in 2019, the company took a fresh look at the asset based on 140,000 meters of drilling and a new structural interpretation. At a 5-gram cutoff, it established a resource of 434,000 ounces. This resource positioned O'Brien as one of the highest grade, undeveloped assets not owned by a producer in Canada. But we knew that we needed to grow the resource in order to possibly establish O'Brien as a standalone project. The goal was to obtain a re-rating on the stock by increasing the resource and showing the perspectivity for multi-million ounces deposit. We felt pretty good about the odds of achieving this by additional drilling outside the resource area. What I want to highlight on that slide is the fact that we were, and still are, only scratching the surface at O'Brien. Here you can see that the old O'Brien mine reached down a vertical depth of 1,000 meters. Some of the best grades occur at the bottom of the mine in what is documented to be Vein 4 and having returned 50% of the historic production. However, the deepest portion of the 2019 resource area was at 600 meters depth, and the area remained open in all directions. At the bottom of this slide, you can see that other mines in the camp have reached depth exceeding 1.5 kilometers. This includes the Lapa mine, 8 kilometers east of O'Brien, Westwood, still in production at 2 kilometers depth, and the Laron mine, down to 3.2 kilometers depth. So what started as a 20,000 meter drill program was eventually expanded to 60 and completed at 127,000 meters. On this long section, you can see the outline of the 2019 resource. The outline of the 2019 resource in pale white, overlaying all drill intercepts. The large pink bubbles represent the 10 grams plus intercepts, both within and outside the resource. I should highlight that 3 veins out of 14 return 90% of the production in the old O'Brien mine, including the vein number 4, once more, to have returned 50% of the production. While we still see more potential in the old O'Brien mine, I'm going to get back to this later in the presentation, we thought that we could replicate high-grade enrichment vectors like the vein number 4 every 300 meters or so, moving to the east. And we've been quite successful doing so on what we call trend 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We drilled trend 0 down to 750 meters, trend 1 and 2 to roughly 950 meters, and both trend 3 and 4 remain open below 500 meters. The property is almost unexplored for another 750 meters moving to the east. After acquiring ground to the west of the old O'Brien mine, we also dedicated a portion of the drill program to what we call O'Brien West, where we obtained intercepts of 37 grams over 2 meters and 12.6 grams over 3.5 meters. While this portion of the package should be integrated in the upcoming resource, more than 90% of the drilling has been concentrated in the drilling area, in the resource area, and we've been quite successful doing so. In fact, out of 246 holes, more than 152 have returned intercepts above 5 grams, the cutoff we used back in 2019. And close to half of those drill holes returned visible gold. Results have been even more impressive in areas where the density of drilling was higher back in 2019. Like trend 1, where we completed 77 holes that returns close to 60 intercepts above 5 grams per ton. And trend 2, where we completed 51 holes and returned 50 intercepts above cutoff. That's a hit ratio exceeding 80%, an exceptional ratio for these type of deposits. And there's no reason to believe that we can't achieve such ratio on other similar trends like trend 3, 4, and 0, or outside the resource as we continue to accumulate more data in future drilling campaign. On this slide, you can see visible gold specimens obtained through the course of the drilling campaign within quartz vein, once more underlying the very high-grade nature of that deposit. Top 5 intercepts per trend are also highlighted in those tables. Going back to that longitudinal section, focus on the resource area, where the top 20 overall drill intercepts are highlighted. 11 of these have been obtained within the program completed in 2022, either at the boundary or just outside the resource outline, the previous resource outline. These include 93 grams over 2.6 meters on trend 0, 110 grams over 2.5 meters on trend 1, 13 grams over 8.2 meters on trend 2, and 33 grams over 3 meters on trend 3. Once more, you can appreciate the high-grade nature of the deposit and the success of the drill program completed in 2022. Since late Q3 2022, our Director of Geology, Vivien Janvier, alongside consultants, have been working on a resource estimate update. Internally, we're very encouraged by the work being made, and I can mention that it's progressing well and it remains on track for publication within the first semester of 2023. So, following the mineral resource estimate, what's next? Well, in parallel to this work, we are currently planning the next phase of growth by defining additional targets based on what we learned over the course of the drill program. Here you can see that the resource area remains open for expansion below 950 meters on trend 0, 1, and 2, and below 500 meters on trend 3 and 4. Once more, the property is open for additional vectors, moving another 750 meters to the east. The depth extent of the old mine remains open with no drilling information below historical mine stopes. While the drilling information is more limited on O'Brien West and New Alger, results available point out to further resource growth potential like within the resource area. Let me just highlight the old O'Brien mine here. Our geological team is currently also working on compiling and precisely interpreting all available historical data in the old O'Brien mine. This exercise will be useful in order to gain even further geological knowledge on the asset and refine the interpretation. What we're finding is that the old-timers have possibly creamed the mine, given a low gold price environment, mining only economical grades at the time and leaving behind additional high-grade ounces, representing a low-cost opportunity for further resource growth at O'Brien. In addition to defining a mine within the known prospective area, the Larder-Lake-Cadillac Break, we've also started to address the potential in the southern portion of the asset, covering a surface of 14 by 4 kilometers. First work allowed to determine that we are in the same geological context as the Canadian and Odyssey deposits located 35 kilometers from O'Brien. Recall that the Malartic mine has produced more than 13 million ounces and that the resource is currently exceeding 7 million ounces. The southern portion of the property has all the ingredients to hide the world-class deposit. In a nutshell, why Radisson? Why do we feel the company has all the ingredients to become a successful story? The company is established in a Tier 1 jurisdiction within a pro-mining district and home of the best-in-class operators like Agnico Eagle, IAMGOLD, Wesdome, and Eldorado. We couldn't ask for better infrastructures, including excess milling capacity, hydropower, potable water running directly to site. We also have advantageous exploration costs, given the easy access of the property, establishing Radisson to deliver more value to you, the investors. O'Brien is already one of the highest grade undeveloped projects in Canada, and the upcoming mineral resource estimate should point out to resource growth and help demonstrate the scale for the asset. Radisson has an experienced leadership from the board to the management level with track record of exploration, mine construction, and production. And we also have capital markets expertise, helping us navigate through winds and tides. More importantly, our interests are aligned with 9.6% ownership and a combined ownership exceeding 40% with a group of 30 investors close to the company. Last but not least, I believe investors are benefiting from a compelling entry point at current valuation. Until recently, most gold exploration stocks like Radisson have been depressed due to a severe correction having occurred between March 2022 up to recent weeks. The successful 127,000 meters drill program will be integrated in coming months in a mineral resource estimate, marking one of the most important catalysts for the company in recent years. We've invested close to $30 million on the asset over the last 3 years, and we're trading at a mere $45 million market cap. Given all the above, I firmly believe that the stock is poised for a re-rating. This marks the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and it will be our pleasure to answer questions during the Q&A. Furthermore, please feel free to reach out to Denis and myself. We include our contact information at the bottom of every press releases. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was amazing. Wow. If I was a shareholder, I'd not only be impressed, but I'd be pretty happy. So we're going to take some questions right now. We'll go through them methodically. Again, I'm just reminding everyone, please submit into the Q&A tab, and then we'll publish them for everyone to see. So you told us that your program included 127 kilometers of drilled results, and you had outstanding results. Are you expecting to announce an important resource growth based on that?
Denis, do you want to grab the opportunity, perhaps?
Yes, for sure. Well, yes, the answer is yes. And if you think about it, in 2019, when we published the mineral resource estimate that we had at the time, after a total drilling program of 140,000 meters, we had a total of, let's say, inferred and indicated ounces of roughly 435,000 ounces published at the time. And then from the learnings we got from that program that was completed in 2019, and especially the new approach considering the structural geology and structural lithology, especially calling for those kind of ore shoots that Hubert has shown, we knew that the next program will probably bring much more ounces per meters drilled. So finally, we started that 128,000 program in the fall of 2019. It was completed in June 2022, and we are effectively currently finalizing, let's say, the compiling of those results. And we have an external firm helping us. And so therefore, for all those, let's say, facts, yes, we clearly expect an important growth in our resource base for sure.
Thank you, Denis. Denis, sorry.
Yeah,
are there any plans to do anything with the Douay claims? Has there been interest from Agnico or Maple Gold?
Well, what I can say on that front, yes, we had discussion, and in fact, very recently with the Maple Gold team regarding Douay, and Maple Gold has done a fantastic job on their side with the joint venture they have with Agnico, and it is quite promising. So definitively, our property in Douay, may see some attention in our next, maybe in this year plan. This is something we are currently evaluating.
Thank you, Denis. Do you expect the New Alger acquisition, which was acquired in 2020, to be similar to O'Brien, and what other potential does it have?
Well, if I could also answer that one, because he has worked. But if I'll let you go, and I will add if I see something that.
Talking about New Alger and perhaps reflecting to that long section, it represents close, I believe, if we include O'Brien West, close to 2 kilometers of the Larder-Lake-Cadillac Break, where the bulk of our resource area is located. But that area specifically hasn't been drilled as much. I think it represents only 10% of the drill data we have in the database. So definitely we do see more potential there. The geology seems to be somewhat the same as what we see in the resource area. So we like the potential for further growth or for defining further high-grade enrichment vector on that sector. And more importantly, following up on the summer 2022 program, we were able to cover the property and I guess outline several potential sector for further growth, which is completely greenfield, completely a different story. And what we're aiming to cover in the southern and the northern portion of the property, in the Cadillac sediments, in 2023 is to do a soil sampling program in order to define the anomalous gold zones where to focus our exploration efforts. And we definitely see much more potential in that package, since in recent years or in previous years it's seen limited exploration work, but in recent years we can see discoveries and even mines being built in the Pontiac sediments, like the Canadian Malartic mine and the Odyssey mine, 35 kilometers from the asset. So while it's still early days, it's going to be becoming part of the program, and we definitely see much more potential down there.
Thank you, Hubert. Next question. Where can I find a projection timeline detailing the next MRE, PEA, BFS, etc.? People are anxious.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I'll step in for that one. Okay, we have currently we have announced that we expect in the first semester of this year that we're going to publish a new resource estimate that is currently on the way, and it goes pretty well. So we may be able to announce sooner than later those results. We are currently engaged with the discussion and engaged partly with some consultants to help us to come up with a kind of a desktop study on the basis that if we assume that we have so many answers in the new resource estimate, and if we have different, let's say, we assume different costs and different mining methods and different mining costs and those sort of things and capex. So what would be maybe how close could we be from, let's say, saying we have a mine at Radisson, at O'Brien, and this is currently on the way, and we expect that kind of desktop study, to be completed in the next few months. So therefore, that will probably set the ground with the resource estimate the new resource calculation that will be public, and this internal desktop study that we're going to have handy to say, well, what is next then? And P-study is definitively in the plan, and pre-phase also. But I cannot give you timelines at this point. But those will be logical steps moving forward once we have the desktop study completed and the new resource estimate published.
Thank you. So next question. What time frame do you envisage to begin production of gold from the mine, and do you favor debt or equity to finance the production?
Well, that's another good question. It is probably too early to assume to say something about when we could maybe start production. One thing is quite sure. Any studies that we had so far calls for mining with a decline, with a ramp. So therefore, accessing the ore zones very quickly. So that won't take too much time once the ramp is started that we get into the ore zones. We have envisaged, and we are still looking at the possibility to go with an underground exploration program first, maybe to confirm a lot of hypotheses that we have on the table now, and including a bulk sample for milling purpose to validate metallurgy. So that underground program, it could be maybe the first step moving forward and closer to operating a mine. And I would say that this year and next year, will be quite important about maybe establishing when we may go with that underground exploration program and or considering maybe mining. Regarding financing, obviously, we are looking at this point, we are open to any kind of options regarding what would be the best way to finance. We have had discussions with different parties, including producers, and that's quite clear that we have a very interesting asset that has dragged a fair amount of attention in the recent few years. And I'm sure the next resource estimate that we're going to be publishing soon will be dragging much more attention.
Thank you. And our friend Eric Lemieux wants to know, what are the royalties attached to the 5,800 hectares on the O'Brien project?
Covering the O'Brien portion, so that includes most of the resource area. There's no interest attached. There's only $1 million payable upon commercial production. On the Kewagama side, or Trend 3 and 4, there's a 2% NSR, and same thing for the New Alger portion. For the southern portion, there's also, or the 5,800 hectares, there's a 2% NSR on it too.
Excellent. Thank you. What is the share price target for July 2023? Get your crystal balls out. Get your crystal balls out. Come on.
I mentioned that I think Denis outlined, and I did that in the presentation too. One of the most important catalysts for the company in recent years is the resource estimate that we'll be publishing in coming months. And we are expecting good development on that front. At least the work is developing, is going well and progressing well. In terms of price target, I did mention that we have analyst coverage at Laurentian Bank and 8 Capital, so maybe you can reach out to Ryan Henley or Felix on that front. They'll be better than me at doing that.
Excellent. All right. Can the old O'Brien mine shaft system be used and or retrofitted to access the gold discovered by Radisson? Horizontal shaft extensions? Is this something that could be considered to reduce underground mining costs?
Yes, the answer is yes. In the kind of, we have some kind of scenarios with respect to going with an underground exploration program, and looking further into maybe going into production. It would make sense, for instance, to consider, since we're going to have to dewater the old mine, if we start an exploration decline for the O'Brien, which is east of that old mine, it would make sense maybe to use the old shaft, for instance, for ventilation purpose, either for intake or exhaust, as we develop, we go with the underground exploration program. So that's one option. And probably, I mean, there may be other uses we can make of the old infrastructures. But the shaft itself, clearly, I mean, that's a good option for ventilation purpose, for instance. Maybe second way of egress. So those possibilities are there.
Okay. What is the horizon for the 1 million ounce of proven and probable reserves?
Well, I would say it is at site. We expect that we're going to have an important resource growth. I cannot tell you today, I mean, what will be the final mark. The upcoming months, we're going to be publishing those results. But again, I mean, we have done 128,000 meters of drilling. We have published, I mean, a lot of excellent results. We are still, I mean, an high grade. We still have an high grade mine. Let's put it that way. And grade is king. And definitively, we're going to get probably. We're going to get close to that million. I don't know by how much, but there's no reason to believe we won't be close with.
Okay, thank you. Next question is regarding G&A. What is the percentage of your administrative expenses versus the total expenses?
I would say it depends of the level of activity. In general, our G&A is quite steady around $750 to $1 million per year, and that includes everything covering the marketing activities and general administrative activities and the management salaries.
Okay, and we have one question, or actually it's a comment. Monsieur Lachance, his service as interim president and CEO is appreciated by this shareholder. Will there be an announcement about a new president and CEO soon?
Well, definitively, we're going to have a new CEO. It won't be me for sure. And we have already some prospective candidates, some that we know very well, that they have been close to Radisson at some point, and or close to some of us at some point. And so I would say that in the next few months, this is something that we're going to have, the board, then I'm going to put my hat as a chairman of the board. We're going to have to effectively look at when we're going to have to move with a new president CEO. But definitively, there will be a new one.
Excellent. And the final question is more, I guess they're thank yous from your shareholders. People are saying that they really like the presentation. They're encouraging you to do more town hall forums, which we would love you to do as well, of course. Some shareholders have commented on your insider trading and your insider buying. Very, very impressive. And one shareholder also thanked you very much for your year-end note to all shareholders. So with that, we're pretty much wrapped up on Q&A. If anybody would like to, if the questions weren't answered and you'd like to have them answered, please email Radisson directly with those questions. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. And please ensure, this is really important, please ensure that you either fill in the email questionnaire we're going to send you or stay for a few seconds more to fill in the questionnaire at the end of the presentation, because this really helps the company communicate more effectively with you for future events. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you at the next VID Town Hall Forum. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.